The Amazing Adventures of Batbird. Written by Jane Clark. Illustrated by Nick Shon.
One. Super Duck. Down at Puddletown Pond, Duncan Dabble and his friends were watching Batbird on worldwide water-screen TV. Tea time, Mum called. Ka-swish! Duncan swirled his Batbird cape around him. Ka-quack! He yelled. Kazoom! He dashed back home to the nest under the willow tree. Batbird's here to save the universe, he announced. That's nice, Mum said, but we don't need saving today. Take a turn sitting on the eggs for a minute, Duncan, and have some tea. I'm not Duncan, said Duncan. I'm Batbird. Super ducks don't stop for tea. Ka-gollop! He grabbed a slug burger and gobbled it down. Ka-swish! He swirled his Batbird cape. Kazoom! Duncan dashed back to the pond. Mrs. Dabble settled herself on the eggs with a sigh. At bedtime, Duncan wanted to sleep hanging upside down from the branch of the willow tree like Batbird. You can try to sleep like that as long as you don't disturb Dad, Mum said. He needs his rest when his new feathers are growing. In the middle of the night, Duncan lost his grip. Ka-quack! Duncan crashed to the ground. Ka-thunk! He landed in a heap next to the nest. Ka-swish! His cape swished over his head. Dad woke up and flapped his tatty feathers. Mind the eggs! He yelled. Sorry, Dad. Duncan peered out from under his cape. Put your head under your wing like a good duckling and go to sleep, Duncan, Mum told him. I'm not Duncan, said Duncan. I'm Batbird. Super ducks don't need sleep. It's hard to live with a super duck, Dad groaned. Two. Watch out. Fox about. The next day at school was Pond Safety Day. Why must you be careful when you go to the pond? Miss Waddle asked the class. You might get knocked down by a car on the way, said Billy. You might get tangled up in an old fishing line, said Peep. You might be gobbled up by a big fish, said Webberer. Duncan yawned. He couldn't keep his eyes open. And you might be pounced upon by a fox, Miss Waddle said. She took that morning's copy of the Puddletown Flyer from under her wing and showed the class the front page. It read, Watch out! Fox about! Duncan snored. The other ducklings gasped. Foxes steal eggs, Webberer said. Foxes eat ducklings, said Peep. And some ducks can't fly away because their feathers are changing, Billy added quickly. That's right, said Miss Waddle. At the moment, a lot of your parents are molting, which means they are losing their old feathers and growing new ones, just like me. She rustled her dowdy feathers. The farmer will be after the fox, but the fox might creep up on you. Miss Waddle raised her voice. Watch out! Fox about! Can you hear me, Duncan? I'm not Duncan, yawned Duncan. I'm Batbird. Super ducks aren't afraid of the fox. Even super ducks are afraid sometimes, said Miss Waddle. Not Batbird, Duncan said. He swirled his cape around his shoulders. I'll show you how Batbird deals with pond safety. Oh dear, Miss Waddle sighed. 3. Never fear, Batbird's here. At playtime, Duncan yelled, Never fear, Batbird's here! Kapow! He knocked Billy over as he pushed him out of the path of a killer car. Ka-swish! His Batbird cape whirled as he twirled Peep around to untangle him from the fishing line strangler. Crash! He crashed into Webbera as he plucked her from the jaws of the big fish. Duncan, Miss Waddle said, don't be so rough with your friends. I'm not Duncan, said Duncan. I'm Batbird. Super ducks have to be rough to save the universe. I'll show you how Batbird will deal with the fox. Duncan swirled his cape round his shoulders and charged. Ow! Yelled Miss Waddle, Billy, Peep and Webbera as they landed in a heap. Miss Waddle called Mum, and Duncan was sent home early from school. Miss Waddle says I'm too rough, Duncan told Mum and Dad. And Billy, Peep and Webbera say that they won't play with Batbird anymore. Oh dear, said Dad. Perhaps it's a good time to stop being a super duck. It's a very bad time to stop being a super duck, Duncan said. There's a fox about. Batbird has to save the universe. Let the farmer deal with the fox, sighed Dad. If you carry on as Batbird, you lose all your friends, said Mum. Batbird doesn't need friends, said Duncan. But you do, Duncan, Mum said, giving him a hug. I'm not Duncan, I'm Batbird, said Duncan. 4. Ka-swish, ka-quack, ka-thunk. That evening, no one would play with Duncan or even watch Batbird on TV with him. There was nothing to do but to take turns with Mum and Dad sitting on the eggs. The eggs showed no sign of hatching, so they weren't much fun. It's lonely being a super duck, Duncan sighed. If only the fox would turn up, then I'd show Miss Waddle and everyone. Be careful what you wish for, Dad said. Cheer up, said Mum. You'll feel better after a good night's sleep. Sleep? Said Duncan. Super ducks don't sleep when there's a fox about. Batbird's going to stay awake all night. Mr. and Mrs. Dabble groaned. That night, Duncan hung upside down from the willow tree. It had been a busy day, and it was hard to keep awake. Mum was sound asleep on the nest, with Dad snoring beside her. Duncan's eyelids began to droop, and soon he fell fast asleep. He was so busy dreaming about Batbird saving the universe that he didn't hear the rustling in the reed bed beneath him. A moonlight shadow slunk across the nest. A shadow with a bushy tail and sharp fangs. The shadow opened its jaws. Just at that moment, Duncan lost his grip. Kerswish! His cape swirled. Kerquack! He yelled as he fell. Kerfunk! He landed on top of the fox. Batbird's cape flapped in the fox's eyes. The fox didn't know what had hit him. Howl! The fox howled, and he ran away as fast as his legs would carry him. You saved us, Mum and Dad cried. You're a real super duck. And that was a real fox, Duncan gasped. It was really, really dangerous and really, really scary. And Duncan started to shake from the end of his shiny bill to the tip of his tufty tail. Five. No more Batbird. At dawn, everyone met at Puddletown Pond to gobble their Weetabix as usual. What was all that noise about last night? Miss Waddle asked. Batbird scared away the fox, Mrs. Dabble said proudly. That's right, said Mr. Dabble. Our Duncan is Batbird, you know. Quack! Duncan's knees were still knocking, but there was something he had to tell them. Everyone stopped dabbling their Weetabix and looked at Duncan. It's hard being Batbird, Duncan said. A super duck's life is rough and dangerous, and no one wants to play. He took off his cape. I'm going to stop being Batbird, he announced. Hooray! Miss Waddle, Billy, Peep and Webber cheered. A few days later, down at Puddletown Pond, Duncan, Dabble and his friends were watching a film on worldwide waterscreen TV. Mum and Dad brought the new ducklings along to meet everyone. It was hard living with a super duck, Dad said, smoothing back his new feathers. We're glad you're not Batbird anymore. You might not be a super duck, said Mum, handing out the pond pops. But we all think you're a super duckling, Duncan. Duncan tore himself away from the film on TV. I'm not Duncan, said Duncan, flattening his tufty topknot. The name's Pond. James Pond.